So there was this crazy fight that took place after the March for Australia, and a lot of people were confused as to why it happened. They're asking a lot of questions that I think can be answered by realizing there are two sides to every story. So of course, in isolation, the media are just calling it like a random sort of unprovoked attack on this camp. But the first thing you have to realize is that the March for Australia always had and always will have peaceful intentions. The only threats of violence came from counter-protesters, people who were saying they're going to smash the rally, they're going to stop it from happening, they were going to fight the riot, all this sort of stuff, basically trying to stifle ordinary Australians from expressing an opinion on mass immigration, and that is that they want to end it. So on the actual day of March for Australia, these threats to stop the rally, to smash the March for Australia, were actually trying to be realised. As people had finally rallied at Flinders Street to then march to Parliament House to then give speeches, blockades were being formed by those communists to then stop the march from going ahead, to try and keep us at Flinders Street. But even that failed because people just fought through them. They just walked straight through their blockades. And so at this point, the communists, these far leftists, were getting very desperate. So far, the march managed to gather, the march had taken place and reached Parliament, and speeches took place. So they had basically had total defeat. They'd been completely shown up. And so they got very desperate and frankly ungentlemanly and quite cowardly because they decided that they're going to start attacking people who were leaving the march. Just old people, young people, anyone they could pick off who they saw were a supporter of March for Australia, people with the Australian flag, any sort of insignia that would show support for a patriotic cause to end mass immigration were attacked. On the day, we were receiving these reports, but there wasn't really much we could do other than inform the police. And it was quite disheartening to know people were trying to get home and being attacked. But the actual individuals who spent the entire day fighting the communists, fighting the far leftists, who were trying to stop the march, were trying to attack the attendees, the ordinary Australian attendees, those same men ended up figuring out that the so-called Camp Sovereignty was being used as a sort of staging or a forward operating base from which attacks on ordinary Australians leaving the march were being carried out. So you sort of have the Shrine of Remembrance here, Camp Sovereignty near it on a hill, and then the rally sort of took place over here. And so people were leaving the rally, walking towards the shrine near this Camp Sovereignty, where these communists, these far leftists were running down, attacking them, and then receding and retreating back up to Camp Sovereignty. And so the nationalists who spent the entire day fighting these communists got wind of this, got wind that instead of attacking the nationalists directly, they're attacking the ordinary Australians who stood behind them during the march. And I guess, according to Nosa News, they were furious and they took the fight to them. Instead of allowing them to cowardly pick off random Australians, the nationalists showed them up on their home turf. That's really as far as I know. The courts will have to decide whether that was legitimate. This is a second side to the story that you're not going to hear anywhere else.